The Demon of Rashomon. Many, many years ago, in the ancient capital of Kyoto, there stood a large roofed gate called the Rashomon. At some point, a terrifying demon began to live inside the structure of this gate, and the rumor was that it ate passers-by. Even in the daytime, no one walked by or through this gate, and when the sun set, no one even came close to it. There was, at this time, however, a very powerful samurai, already famous for having subdued the demon of Mount U, by the name of Watanabe no Tsuna. All right, he thought when he got wind of this rumor, I'll go and see this for myself. So saying, one night he mounted his horse and rode off. At his waist he had his very famous sword, the demon cutter. Very soon the Rashomon came into view. The great roof of the gate towered above him in the dark night sky, and the entire area was as silent as a grave. Tsuna momentarily looked up at the gate, but did not find it particularly frightening. "It is a little uncanny," he murmured to himself, "but I don't see anything that looks like a demon around here." Then, just as he was about to return home, "Excuse me," a woman's voice came from behind him. Turning around from where he sat in his saddle, he found that the voice belonged to a pretty young woman. "Please, could you accompany me to my house in the Gough area? I was on my way back from an errand, and the sun suddenly went down. Now I seem to have lost my way." Tsuna thought that it was rather strange for a young woman to be walking by herself in such a lonely place, but he dismounted and said, "How unfortunate. Yes, I know the Gough area quite well. Let me help you onto my horse." Just as the woman seemed to be stepping into the stirrup, she suddenly transformed into a terrifying demon, took Tsuna by the neck, and began to fly into the sky. "Now I've done it," Tsuna choked. He quickly tried to wrestle himself free from the demon's grip, but to no avail. Laughing fiendishly, the demon rapidly flew higher and higher. Tsuna was desperate. He unsheathed his sword and with a great shout struck out at his captor. "Yah!" the demon shrieked, and instantly Tsuna fell with a thud on the roof of the Rashomon. A second later, a severed, hairy arm landed next to him. In the black night he could hear the demon screaming, "You may have cut off my arm, but beware, I'll be back for it in 7 days." The screams seemed to be coming from farther and farther away, but at last everything was silent. "Well now," Tsuna thought to himself, "so this is from the arm of a demon." Picking up the arm, he found that it was as hard as steel and covered uncannily with hair. The fingernails were like sharp points of lancets. "Well, I've gotten something interesting here," he said to himself. "I think I'll bring it home." Tsuna returned home, put the demon's arm in a strong box and locked the box securely with a key. Then he commanded his retainers to be on the lookout for anything strange around his mansion. The 6th day passed. Then, in the evening of the 7th day, a little old lady arrived at Tsuna's gate. "Hello, hello," the old lady shouted as loudly as she could. "Watanabe's no Tsuna's aunt. I haven't seen him for a long time and have come for a visit. My home is way out in the countryside and I'm quite tired. Would you please let me in?" The Lord had given strict orders that no one, no matter who, is allowed in. The gatekeeper on duty yelled back, "So I'm afraid that even his relatives are not welcome." And with this, he was about to go out and drive the old lady away. But she suddenly burst into tears and sobbed, "How cold-hearted he is to say such a thing. I've cared for him and spoiled him since he was little, and now he's going to drive me away. That's too much. That's just too much." The watchman was confused and went to his lord Tsuna to report what had occurred. "What? My aunt, you say?" Tsuna interjected. "Bring her here right away." The old lady entered the room and grasped Tsuna by the hand. "Ah, Tsuna, I've wanted to see you for a long time." "I'm so glad to see you, Auntie," Tsuna replied, and happily took her by the hand as well. By the way, the old lady said with a worried look, why aren't you letting anyone into your mansion? Has there been some sort of trouble? Yes, the fact is that a demon may be on its way here. What? A demon, you say? The old lady seemed quite shocked as she looked intently into Tsuna's face. For his part, Tsuna had told her the entire story, detail by detail. Is that so? She finally exclaimed. You really cut off a demon's arm? That's just like the nephew of mine. I'd like to see just what a demon's arm looks like. Oh no, Tsuna returned. That's the one thing I can't do. The demon's coming back for it, you know. Oh, don't be so unfeeling, the old lady cried. Looking at it for just a second won't hurt. I'm an old lady and don't know when I'm going to die. I would just like to see something like that once in my life. Hearing his aunt talk this way, Tsuna felt that he couldn't refuse. All right, he said hesitantly, but just for 1 second. Taking out the box, he released the lock and showed the old lady what was inside. Oh my, this is a demon's arm. How frightening. As she looked intently inside the box, however, the old lady suddenly grabbed the arm and flew up toward the ceiling. Tsuna, you see, she screamed, I've come back for my arm. The old lady's face instantly turned into that of a horrifying demon. Breaking through the window in the ceiling, the demon danced up into the sky. Wait, wait! Tsuna unsheathed his sword and raced after the demon, and the figure became smaller and smaller. Soon the sky was completely black. Then came the fiendish, high-pitched laughter, which also slowly faded away. Tsuna stamped his feet and cursed, but it was all over. Nevertheless, possibly from its fear of this dauntless samurai, the demon never appeared again at the Rashomon.